Everybody in this conversation.
All right.
On Facebook.
All right. Who wasn't here yesterday? You two weren't here either. Okay. So Johnny was here yesterday. All right. So yesterday, go back and watch yesterday's video. It's another half hour, right? All of these tend to be a half hour. Watch yesterday's video. Yesterday's video is about responsibility. Okay. And the question was, who are you responsible to? Right. First, we tried to define it, and we said, it's obligations. It's the tasks that you're obligated to fulfill. If you read the definition in, you go online and Google the definition, it has to do with accountability. Right. What are you responsible for morally, professionally? Right. It's about accountability. But the question was asked about who are you responsible to, or what are you responsible to? Right. And we're responsible to ourselves. We're responsible to our jobs, to, and you name it, family, spouse, whoever you're responsible to. The question I put in underneath the video, which you'll see when you go and watch it, is, do you have a responsibility to be your best? Right. Now you say, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there?
We say, of course, and I agree with you.
Absolutely, that's without doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
But do you do it every day? That's the question.
On a scale of 0 to 100, how much do you give?
It's gonna sound funny. Depends on part of the day. What part of the day? What's going on?
How much do you give to yourself, to what?
Yes.
Exactly, that's the question first, to myself.
That's a loaded question.
It is.
Well,
A lot of these questions are loaded.
uh,
So let's talk about that.
well.
What are different ways, all right? So let's. Various. I like this. We'll go organic for a moment. Go off script. Various things we give ourselves to. Let's make a list. What do we got? It's a loaded question, so let's unpack it.
God,
Okay, let's start with God. That's a good place to start. What else do we give ourselves to? Family.
Money.
Ooh. Money.
Bill collectors.
Debts.
Experiences.
Experiences. I like experiences.
work.
Work.
Items, things. Tangible items.
Employees, if you have them.
Material things. Employees or other people.
Our faith.
Put faith up here.
Social life, I guess.
Social life.
So,
I think a lot of those that you have in there could be listed as self.
A lot of these could fall underneath it here. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that. So there's a lot of different dimensions, right? There's a lot of, we did a wheel of life that showed there's 7 dimensions that we talk about just in that. Right? And so I don't think you're wrong when I say when you ask, well, it all depends. Which part are you talking about? Talking about all of it. So let's break it down. Let's start at the top. When it comes to God or your faith or whatever practice you have, whether it's no practice or whatever it is, where are you? Between 0 and 100, how much are you giving to that? And we'll call that a relationship because that's what matters to most people, right?
Well, I mean, honestly, we should give 100% to everything.
We ought to, right? We should, but we should all over ourselves, right?
It's an impossibility
Yeah.
though.
It's an impossibility?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Because to give 100% to everything would make you a perfect human being.
You will require more than 24 hours. Because everything demands, right? Something out of you, which is timing.
that's why I say it depends on what time of the day it is.
And I believe that you believe that.
I honestly believe it because I can dedicate 100% 100% to God first thing in the morning when I'm praying. But the rest of the day, I can't. I mean, I can do the right things in His eyes, hopefully, but as far as giving my time to Him, you know, fully, can't do it when I give it to other people at the same time.
Okay, so there's a good point. Let's start there. Jeez Louise, you guys are making this fun today. Let's start with God. In the AM, it's easy. Then what happens?
Life.
You get busy
We're distracted.
by the work.
Life happens. Distractions. Busy. And so it takes you from 100% down to what? What do you think?
10.
Down to 10%. Okay. What about yourself? Let's skip it. Let's go to a family.
One.
Or only you have to give 100%, but
Oh,
depends again,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
45, 55.
I'll say 30%, because most of the time we're spending it here. But,
Yeah, but you're
we're
here
here
for
for your
your
family, yeah, we're here for your
Exactly,
family.
exactly.
So, yeah, so,
It's hard to, we
It's
wanna
hard
be
to
here.
break it down, so. But it's we are like from 100% to 0% in a 24 hours, that's, okay, these blocks are for this, these blocks are for this. For example, I can tell you on my days, I break it down those hours. I spend pretty much just like 40% in the morning just to gather myself, so.
So you get 40%
Yeah,
or
because
40% of your time.
of my time, yes.
You focus on this
Yeah.
part. Okay?
Yeah, but that's me because I get up pretty much just 3 or 4 in the morning to do so, so not everybody will do that.
So you set yourself some time to get started that way. It's a great way to do it. The 5 a.m. Club by Robert Sharma. If you haven't read it, read it. It's a great book. It talks about starting your morning with a morning ritual, a morning routine, so that you, Jordan Peterson, who I talked about yesterday, he has a book called 12 Rules for Life. And what we talked about yesterday, and you'll see in the video, is it says rule number 2 is treat yourself as though you're somebody that you're responsible for helping. Because we often will do more for for other people than we will for ourselves.
That's a fact.
So, there are many dimensions to ourselves. And we talked about, okay, it's impossible to go at 100% all the time because that would make you perfect. And perfect's not possible. If you believe that it's not possible, why the hell are you trying to do it? Why would you try to do something you
It's
don't
like
believe is
Buddhism,
possible?
they're always trying to seek enlightenment.
That wasn't the question. The question is, if you don't believe it's possible,
Why do it?
why do it?
Because to some extent, everyone seeks some form of perfection.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
probably to prove to yourself.
You're always
So-
trying to improve, aren't you?
Improve, yeah, but we're talking about perfection.
Isn't
So
that-
if
may
you-
not be able to achieve perfection, but you can have a perception of what you think perfection is.
So that's what we've been talking about, right? And so I went off script because I think that was important to get there. We're setting up what we believe to be an ideal, right? And we've defined success as a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. An ideal is some sort of perfect example, right? Would you agree? So if you define perfect as flawless, then your idea of it not being possible makes sense to me. I'm going to offer you another way of defining it. Complete. Completely as you are. As insufficient as you are right now. If you live present, that's why I'm asking 100 or 0. Where do you fall in between? How present are you? Because what we're going to start exploring is there's work by a man named Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's written a handful of books. Evolve Your Brain, breaking the habit of being yourself, and that's the one we're really going to try to break down a little bit. And I'm going to go into an example here in a moment. But you are the placebo and then becoming superhuman. And what it's all about is not being perfect, but it's about learning how to use this, right? If you're present with your guest, with your customer, and we talked about this yesterday, and you're fulfilling your responsibility to your customer, you're giving 100%. In my opinion, if you're giving 100% of yourself to your job, and you guys went there too, you're here for your family. So in order to give 100% to your family, even when you're not with your family, you need to be at 100% with whatever you're doing. And the only way to do it is to be exactly where you are at that moment, doing everything you can do to be your best. Sometimes that does mean, and I'm going to give you some leeway here if you're not giving it to yourself already. Sometimes that means that you're socializing, because we are social creatures. So sometimes that means that you're talking to your colleagues, you're taking a break. But are you being intentional with that time, right? Did you say, okay, I'm going to work for the next 90 minutes like hell to set the appointments that I have set for my goals, right? As I've written them down, because I've written them down. And then I get a 15 or 20 minute break. Right? Sometimes that's what it means. So being at 100% doesn't mean that you're a machine, and that makes it impossible. You've got to set up your levels to success, your steps to success in a realistic manner, right? That's what SMART goals are all about. It doesn't mean, and so that's why when you guys are saying what you're saying, you're not wrong. I'm just trying to help you redefine the way you look at it, the perception of what you're looking at here. Do me a favor, and this is where I'll go back to the script. Close your eyes. I know this might be uncomfortable for you. I hate it when people say close your eyes. I want you to imagine. It might be your spouse, it might be somebody in movies, but somebody who you find very attractive. They walk up to your door and they knock on it, and you open your door at your house, and there they are. Do you see them? What are they wearing? They have a button-up shirt on. Maybe they start unbuttoning that shirt. Oh my God, did they just take their shirt off? Oh my God, they took their pants off. Did they just grab you? No, I'm going to stop there, right? You can take, so all right, open your eyes. Now hang on a second. What just happened? Because I watched you guys smile and laugh, right? I watched you guys. Yeah, you're turning red right now.
I'm like, okay.
Okay. Now, that is a perfect example, and that's why I used it. What just happened?
Well, you took us from another level, so completely, I don't know, with imagination, right? So,
All I did was say a couple of words. We can go back and count them. There was less than 25 words in there. And what happened?
Imagination.
Thought. Now, depending on how far I was willing to go with that, and I didn't want to be inappropriate, but I wanted to make the point. And clearly I made the point. Depending on how graphic you're willing to get in that exercise, how far you're willing to take that, you will have a physical reaction. You did. You turned bright red.
I see where you're going.
You will manifest.
that's not fair.
It's not fair. No, I understand. You will manifest in reality thoughts alone. It takes nothing more than that. So I have up here coach. Because yesterday we talked about responsibility, and the rule number 2 in 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson is, now for those of you that don't know, I'm going to give you a couple of books here. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and The Antidote to Chaos is a great book about taking responsibility for your own life and stepping up and Raising Your Standard. It's a fantastic book. It calls you to action. The second book, or well, it's his third, but the follow-up to that one is called Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. Great book. He's got a new one coming out this fall. I'll tell you how it is after I read it. I've already got on pre-order. But, I like him. Great book. But, second rule is treat yourself as though you're somebody who you're responsible for helping. Imagine that you're your own coach. Right? And instead of walking through an exercise like I just walked you through, what if in the morning you had your goals written down and you looked at them? And you remember, because we went over this already, that your thoughts and your feelings act as an electromagnetic field. So imagine that your thoughts, which you send out from yourself into the world around you, are an electric impulse. And what you feel coming back in is magnetic. If you believe that what you're pursuing, your perfection, is not possible, you're going to have a thought of the goal and an incongruent feeling about it. That's why we went over the belief tables and what you need to crush. But if you can align your thoughts and your feelings together, you can attract to yourself. This is the law of attraction. You can attract to yourself the thing that you're after. So as your own coach, you're responsible for helping yourself. And this is the homework. Right? This is a simple one today. You're going to explore what it is that you say to yourself. And you might not be able to sit down and do this one. This might mean keeping a notebook or something nearby and writing down something that reminds you of it later, because you're going to have conversations with yourself. You're going to have conversations with yourself throughout the day. And you're going to be saying things to yourself that you aren't even realizing that you're saying to yourself. So I challenge you, for 24 hours, I want you to, anytime you have a negative thought, catch yourself having it. And write it down. Anytime you catch yourself having a negative thought, catch yourself and write it down. That's your 24-hour challenge. Now, the challenge ends when you go 24 hours without having a negative thought.
I did that in my past.
Yeah, how did that go?
Well, I'm able to catch them and then say, no, you're not going to bother my mind. So
Yeah.
I control myself very well.
Yes.
I'm not depressed, so.
Don't give up on this challenge.
What if I found that the only way I can actually go 24 hours and not have a negative thought?
It's to sleep.
Not come to work.
That's an important thing to be aware of. That's a very important thing to be aware of, because what we're talking about here is, and we did this last Friday, actually, I think it was.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure it was last Friday. We talked about our conditions. And this is why I walked through, this is literally the reason I walked through the exercise that we just walked through. It took 25 words, if that. I'll go back and count them. Because either you're a product of your conditions, right? And you are, in a sense, right? And we're going to go down this path, but I'll give you a little taste of it since you brought it up. So, environment, body, and time. What is your mind?
That's a question?
What is your mind?
No. Okay. I was waiting on you to finish.
Your self-conscious?
Your conscience,
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Obviously, that's what we identify with. What else?
Can't articulate it.
You can't articulate it. Oh, that's interesting too, because most of us can't. Some people think that the mind is the brain in action. Right? So imagine you've got hardware, this thing, and the software that runs on it. So the mind is like the software, right? Mind, body, spirit, right? People combine mind and spirit or soul, right? Because we don't know, right? Descartes does this whole Cartesian thing, this material and energy, right? They're two different things, right? You got the spirit world and you got the material world, and they're separate. I don't know if I'm a dualist that way. The jury's still out, but I'm not. The mind is the software that runs on the brain, or using the brain. I don't know if you can say on it, but within it. So you are a collection of memories, right? Your memories come from where?
Experiences.
Your experiences. We wrote that down earlier, right? Some of the things we focus on. Your experiences are with what?
Life.
Your environment. Where do you store those memories?
Brain.
In your brain?
Part of
In your body?
Yeah.
Throughout time?
Hopefully.
So you're a record, your brain, including your body, is a record of your past. Because have you ever been getting in your car and you're on your way somewhere and you're driving and you forget where you're going and your body takes you somewhere else? You go, oh my God, I'm going back to work. I'm not even going to work today.
Muscle memory.
Muscle memory. At that point, your body is your mind. Now, your brain is a record of your past. Your body is a record of your past, right? Everything you've put into it has created the body the way it is now, right? When you have an experience in the present, you react to it based upon your past. So if your brain and your body are a record of your past, and your reactions in the present are a response from your past, then you're not living in the present. You're living in your past. Now I'm going down a rabbit trail I didn't intend to go down here today, just to walk you through this. If you're a victim of your conditions, if the only way that you can stay positive is by removing yourself from a certain situation, then you are not in control of your mind. You're under the influence of whatever drug you want to call it. Let's call it negativity. It has its grip. This exercise is to just help you make you aware of it and what those things are. What are they? Because if you continue to be a record of your past, you're going to continue to produce in your future everything that has gotten you to where you are. Not because your past guides you, because I think we talked about this. If you're standing on a boat looking backward, what do you see?
Wake.
The wake. But does the wake drive the boat?
No.
No. What does?
The captain.
The captain, yeah. The captain drives the boat. And if the captain is paying attention, right? The water has a lot of powers. Man, I learned this being out on the boat this year. Being a captain. That water's in control. It feels like. But if I'm paying attention at the helm, I can influence it. I can prevent us from capsizing. I can prevent collisions. I can get where I want to go. If I know where I am, where I want to go, why I want to get there, and how. Right, that's what that was. So if you're a victim of your conditions, if you're vulnerable to the things around you, you have two options. You can remove yourself from the things, or you can change yourself for the better. You have options. The one thing that you said, and I'm calling it just because you volunteered and I appreciate it. The one thing you said was the only way. One of them. Let's replace that. One of the ways that you go 24 hours without being negative is to remove yourself from the condition. Another is to change yourself. Become your best coach. right? I like to think of this as coaching, right? That is something I enjoy because that's what Tony Robbins did for me, right? And he is the best coach, right? As far as I can tell. But I've got other coaches out there, right? I'm going to encourage you, and I'm going to ask you, invite you, if you will, to become your own best coach. Start by becoming aware. We'll talk more about how the brain and the mind, the thoughts and the feelings need to be tied together. We'll talk more about how, if your brain is a record of the past and you're continuing the habits forward into the future that are already instilled within you, how do you change that? We'll get to exactly how to fix that, but let's start with this. That's your challenge. Catch yourself in the negativity. And the reason I'm asking you to write it down is not to have a record of it, but it's simply to make yourself aware of what are some of the things, the conditions that seem to bother me the most. You don't ever have to show this to anybody. This can be your own. But to become aware, the things that we resist the most tend to be the things we need to most focus on.
And work harder.
You should always work harder on yourself than you do at your job. That's really what this is all about. We're working harder on ourselves than we are our job, because our job will get easy once we get ourselves in order. So there is an old idea that the Knights of the Round Table searched for the Holy Grail where? Do you know this? They entered the forest, so the Holy Grail is the thing that you most aspire to find, right? The thing that is most important. They entered the forest at the point that looked darkest to him. So whatever you're resisting, you need to pay attention to. Whatever is darkest in you right now, whatever the negativity is that's coming out, you got to find it. Figure out what it is. So do this now, not just to find out what the darkness is in you, where the negativity is, but how often. See how long it takes you to go and forget. Let me rephrase that. Don't forget the 24-hour limit. See how long it takes you to go even 12 hours.
An hour.
I promise it's going to be harder than you think. Was that negative or was that just realistic? So, all right, do that. Try this. Let's see what happens with it.